Why guitarists over 40 must be practicing this? I can see your face. I mean, it would be my first question. What does the age matter? Well, let me explain to you. By the way, I'm over 40. So let me break this down. I'm a guitar teacher. Most of my students are between 50 and 70. Most of them played in their childhood or, played some guitar, but never really serious. Then life got in the way. So a lot of them had a family, were working, or maybe even had a business. And lately, they realized that guitar has an important part in their life. So they really want to get better at guitar. They want to express themselves freely and be able to be proficient and just, be a badass on guitar in however you want to word it. But necessarily they don't want to be rock stars anymore, They're not like a 20-something-year-old that is dreaming of being the next Stevie Ray. That train has passed. What's more important at this point is the quality and the intention of playing. Most likely, if you're at that stage, you also don't want to be a shredder, yeah? You don't want to just spend 5-6 hours a day studying technique. No, most of these guys that I work with, they would just want to play in a melodic, soulful way that is highly musical, that sounds like it could be played by one of our heroes like Stevie Ray, David Gilmour, Mark Knopfler, Santana, in that kind of ballpark. Yeah? Now, if you can relate to that guy over 40, then you came to the right place here. And if you're younger, stick around because you're going to learn some very important things here as well. So with these goals in mind, what is really the important part that you want to develop as an improviser? How should you practice it? How should you spend your time in the most effective way to reach your goal in playing in this melodic, soulful way? Well, today at this video, I want to give you some answers. I want to give you a workable approach. I want to share what has worked for my students. I'm also going to share what has not worked, because that's going to be equally valuable. And so hopefully by the end of this, in like 10 minutes or so, you should be able to put together a more efficient practice routine. You should have new things on your radar that you haven't practiced yet, but that you absolutely need to work on. And maybe you're going to start realizing that you've been trying to solve the wrong problems to get to the goal that you have. All right. But why should you even be listening to me? My name is Ulrich Ellison. I've been playing for the last 25, almost 30 years now. And I've been a professional musician. I've played thousands of shows on 3 continents. And I created this YouTube channel to share what I've learned, but also share what has worked with hundreds of my students of my TGT Academy that I founded a few years back. And in that sense, these things that I'm presenting here is not just something that I came up with for my own playing, but it's something that was successfully applied with some of my students. All right, so first things first. We need to look at your foundations. Yeah? You need to know where you are. For example, in just terms of rhythm. Can you put on a metronome? And can you play fluid lines in 8th notes, in 8th note triplets, in 16ths without any problem? Let's say you're just staying in a pentatonic and you're not moving around much. You just stay like, let's say C minor. Yeah, you're just gonna stay in C minor, and I'm just gonna play C minor notes. The only rule is you need to keep going. Let's give that a try. And this is gonna be foundations exercise number 1. Yeah. So here we have 90 beats per minute. Yeah? Gonna start out with eighth notes. How about eighth notes triplets? Here we go. You might notice, we're not talking about playing fast at this point. We're just talking about hitting the rhythmical subdivision or the rhythmical values reliably and consistently. As a side note, I also did some bends. So there's another foundation there would be to check, are your bends in tune? These facts here, this is like mere mechanics that you might or might not have developed in your years of playing. And no matter if you want to be a rock star or not, there's almost no way around to be able to just do the mere basic mechanics here. Yeah? Now, I've put together a guide. I call it the layered lead guitar approach. And part of this approach are the 6 mechanical foundations. I'm just going to put it on the screen here so you can see them. But so the 6 foundations are string bending, vibrato, alternate picking, rhythmical subdivisions. So we had pretty much now alternate picking, rhythmical subdivisions, string bending, vibrato. We'll cover them all in this little exercise here. Articulations, we're talking about note lengths and stuff. And then also tone control and dynamics. So I would say that if you can control these 6 foundations, then you're already in a very, very good spot where you are able to start telling a story. Yeah? And you don't have to think about the absolute basics anymore. So now the question that you might have is like, well, Ulrich, how do I practice this? Well, this is going beyond this YouTube tutorial here. If you get my guide, I'll put the link down below there in the description. It will have some instructions and some exercises in there. And I will tell you what you can do to practice those 6 foundations. The next step here, however, would be to take a look at your core vocabulary with your pentatonic. Yeah? How good are your licks? How good is your vocabulary? Let's have a look at this. Yeah? And I'm not talking about any fancy kind of, virtuoso tapping licks. I'm talking about a David Gilmour style, authority, pure, searing, majestic lead. Let's have a look. Yes, my friend. So playing lead guitar like this is not technically out of reach for anyone. If your lead over just a pure like C drone like this, if they don't sound like this, chances are that your bends are not in tune, your vibrato control is not at that same level, you're not aware of your note lengths, your articulations. You're just playing all notes long or all notes short. Also, you might not use legato in a fluid way to connect your phrases and just have nice articulation. So if these things apply, and you gotta self-evaluate now, yeah? If these things apply, then that tells you that there are certain foundations that are just not in place for you. Yeah? This is not about being the next Steve Vai or spending 5 hours a day practicing alternate picking. These are foundations that anyone can learn with about 30 to 40 minutes of targeted, focused practice on the right things. Again, I'm going to point to my layered lead guitar method guide that I'm going to give away to you for free today. You just have to click down on the link there in the comments. Yes, and so this is going to help a lot to just even have the overview of what you actually needs to be working on. Yes. So what else do guitarists over 40 plus need? If I go back to that title. Yes, so let's say we now at the stage where you can play some of these licks in a nice way. Your bendings are in tune. You're pretty happy with the way you sound, but you're just very repetitive. If that is you, then it's time to just reconfigure the 5 pentatonic notes in a way where you can play different textures. I'm not just gonna talk forever, What I'm talking about is, in essence, the Hendrix chordal style. So we're gonna use those same 5 notes. I was playing the C minor pentatonic, right? So C minor pentatonic. I can also play this. This is also the C minor pentatonic, right? I'm actually visualizing this as E flat major, the relative major of C minor. So what I was doing here was I was playing what I call Hendrix chordal licks in E flat major, the relative major, and to sound perfectly correct in C minor. Yeah? See what that sounds like over the drone, and you tell me if that sounds cool, if that's gonna free your playing, yes or no. Yeah, you tell me. So I'm just gonna start here. Do you think that this layer could liberate your expression or give you new textures in your arsenal? Well, I certainly think so. And, I got to tell you that when I discovered this style or this stylistic approach by studying several of Hendrix's tunes, and I'm talking about songs like Wind Cries Mary, One Rainy Wish, Spanish, Castles Made of Sand, Little Wing, of course, and then also Angel. It just blew my mind. Yeah? And I started to understand the concept that Hendrix was using, and I kind of narrowed it down to just a few licks that you can learn easily, and then start mixing them with your existing pentatonic vocabulary. So that's what I call the Hendrix chordal style. And guess what? The Hendrix chordal style, of course, is also part of the layered lead guitar method. Yeah? It's actually one of the key ingredients. Yes, download of this brochure below there in the description. What else? So another important thing is now, to add a few color notes into the pentatonic. At some point, we want to break out of the 5 notes, right? And so what I have realized is that instead of just blowing a scale over the pentatonic and playing it up and down, what most people are doing, it's very often more musical to just add one specific note to the pentatonic. I want to show you what that means, and I'm going to use that drone here again, because the drone has the advantage that we can hear everything clearly, and we are not confined by rhythm yet. Yeah? So if we have the pentatonic here, and I play, and I play this note here. This is a major 6. Yeah? This adds an awesome color, right? Some of you might already know what that color is. Minor plus a major 6. This is actually a Dorian color, yeah? Do you hear how striking that sounds? Yes. And so by hitting that note like as a color versus just playing it as a scale, where the color doesn't really come out or shine, it's just playing that scale. This first way of playing the color is actually the by far more musical way, and that's way more in the fashion that guys like Gilmour or Hendrix treat these intervals or modal colors in their solos. No matter if they know the theory or not, it doesn't really matter so much. But think of David Gilmour playing like something like this in the intro of Shine On You Crazy Diamond. It's in a different key, but it's the same principle. I mean, don't tell me he was not aware of the effect of that major 6. Yeah. So I don't want to overwhelm you today here. I mean, we already covered a lot of ground. So rather than just adding more things to the table, let's see what we have so far, and let's just summarize real quick. So if you're over 40 and your goal is to play with more melodic freedom and have better command and more choices of what you play, then I would suggest you take an honest look at your foundations. You download this layered lead guitar method guide. Take a look at your foundations. Make sure you know your subdivisions. And then take a drone and do exactly what I did here and start with your basic pentatonic vocabulary. Then add in that Hendrix chordal lick. You can find some information about that also here. And then add in some of those color notes, intervals. And then you can read more. There's more in there. I'm not covering everything here in this lesson today. But this should give you enough information to reconfigure what you have been working on so far. And, maybe you've just been playing over backing tracks, or maybe you've been trying to learn certain songs. Well, this method here is a more structured approach to develop your lead guitar voice. So this is just going to add in beautifully with all the other stuff that you've been doing. And it's going to possibly give you a new focus on how to approach lead guitar, where you don't have to practice all these things and do a bunch of scale exercises and technical studies and tapping or whatever flashy thing comes your way via the internet. by the way, don't get intimidated by all these preschool kids shredding over the fretboard. First of all, just because they can record a 20-second clip doesn't mean that they can play a 2-hour gig. That's the first thing. And second thing, music is not a competition. Yeah? You just want to play beautiful melodic leads. So you got to learn the foundations that you need to do that. You don't need to be the fastest. You don't need to play 1,000 notes a minute. You don't. You just got to play the right notes at the right time. In that sense, I hope this lesson was useful for you. Leave your ideas and comments below, please. And also tell me if that layered lead guitar approach was helpful for you. Once you downloaded it, let me know. If you're really interested in developing layers, then of course, we got our TGT Academy. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm just giving you a little taste. We got a full-blown training program. We can learn all these things, including the Hendrix chordal style, including the many other tools that we have developed. Let's just say it that way. There's just too many to mention. In that sense, keep on rocking and keep on enjoying my videos on my channel.